C. Here. Miss Wenmuth.
Present.
Also, the student board members, Hope Rie and Callie Parnell.
Present.
Motion passes 7-0.
There was no motion. There was no motion.
What's that? Oh, okay. Okay. I thought that you said for that too. I'm new at this, guys. So.
Doing great.
All right. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move into agenda item 4.1, student recognition.
All right. Good evening, board. We are thrilled this evening to welcome students and their families.
Acknowledge the award-winning efforts of our students who have received state and national recognition for their school-related and athletic-related activities. This evening, the Board of Education and Dr. Kilgatti are proud to recognize the outstanding accomplishments of individuals from the following various teams and academic achievements: Skills USA and Illinois Design Educators Association. First, we will be recognizing the students who participated in the Skills USA Illinois State Championship. Skills USA is a career and technical student organization serving more than 395,000 middle school, high school, college students, and professional members enrolled in training programs in trade, technical, and skilled service occupations. The following students are all from Oswego High School. Students, as your name is called, please come forward to be congratulated by the Board of Education and our Superintendent, Dr. Kilgatti. First of all, we will start with the people who are not present tonight. Owen Doherty got second place in cabinet making. And Alex Robeldo got second place in restaurant service. All right, we'd like to bring up Aiden Emmanuel. Aiden got first place in restaurant service. Next up, Aiden Hayden, who got second place in masonry. And then we have Caitlin Filk, who got first place in baking and pastry arts. And finally, Jack Wolcott got first place in cabinet making. Our last student, Aiden Hoffman, is from Oswego East. Aiden is unable to be with us tonight, but he is being recognized for having placed third in assembly modeling at the Illinois Design Educators Association state competition. We will now have a photo with these great students. Any administrator or advisors who are here, Dr. Kilgatti and our board, please come up for a picture if you are here as administrators.
Parents.
Congratulations, students.
Okay, next board, I want to invite, we have our monthly Pride Award winners, and Mr. Francis, take it away.
All right, these are the May 2025 Pride winners. Tonight, the Board of Education acknowledges Pride winners from Operations, Transportation, Finance, Technology, and District Administration Center staff for the month of May. Pride stands for proudly recognizing individuals demonstrating excellence. The Board of Education began the program 9 years ago to recognize, promote, and celebrate the many contributions made by teachers and employees across our district. We thank our generous district partners, Chick-fil-A, Culver's, Imagination Print and Design, Huntington Learning Center, Serve Bank, and The Scoop for helping to make this program what it is. We would also like to thank all those who nominated individuals for consideration. As we recognize our last Pride winners of the school year tonight, we'd like to share some exciting statistics. This year, our district's Pride program received over 1,500 nominations for teachers, teacher assistants, social workers, nurses, custodians, administrative assistants, and all of those who make our district run. Some staff members even received multiple nominations. Of those 1,500, we were able to recognize 92 individuals as Pride winners, celebrating the hard work and the dedication they have provided to the staff and students of our Oswego Community Unit School District 308. Awardees, after your name is called and we share your nomination, please come forward to be congratulated by the board and Dr. Kilgatti, and wait until the rest of the individuals from your school and team have been called up. Congratulations to the following individuals. First of all, Tommy Beetzel. Tommy is a transportation dispatcher, often referred to as Tommy. Thomas handles the constant input from his role with care and compassion. He's responsive to all the demands of dispatch and doesn't stop working until he gets to the bottom of a concern. One nominator said, quote, "He is always ready to help with any questions, dispatching a driver for us and working with our staff and our families. You can actually hear his smile through his voice every time we call." Congratulations, Thomas. Next up from the operations department, Dean Collins. Dean is in our maintenance department. When called to help, Dean always responds quickly. He shares his knowledge of systems with our buildings to those eager to learn. He approaches any task given to him with a positive attitude. As the nominator said, his ability to communicate and problem solve is out of this world. Congratulations, Dean. Next up, Nicole Hales, lead dispatcher from our transportation department. The leadership of Nicole demonstrates her commitment to the health and safety of her team and the students they serve. She remains calm under pressure and is dedicated to seeking effective solutions. As the nominator shared, she is dependable, driven, and always willing to go above and beyond to ensure the smooth functioning of our department. Her strong work ethic, problem-solving ability, and willingness to take initiative have made her an invaluable asset to our team. Congratulations, Nicole. And next up from our technology department, technology specialist Ty Jones. Ty is known for his eagerness to help in all situations. He is a 308 alum. Even before becoming an employee of the district, he offered solutions to his teachers and peers' tech questions. Ty is always prepared and constantly impresses staff with his knowledge and skill. His expertise is essential in making sure that our technology runs smoothly, ensuring our students have access to the materials and supports that they need for success. Congratulations, Ty. Next up, Kim O'Hara. Kim is our student information manager and so much more. Her valuable knowledge and willingness to support makes Kim O'Hara stand out. Over the years, she has seen changes in programs but remains consistent in her care. Kim works tirelessly to find solutions whenever staff have questions relating to her area of expertise. As one nominator shared, she goes above and beyond to either provide the answer we need or find out the answer if needed. Congratulations, Kim. Next up, from our operations department, executive assistant Dawn Sino. As an organized, efficient, and knowledgeable member of the operations department, Dawn knows how to keep things running smoothly. She's incredibly helpful, and her cheerful demeanor brings joy to those around her. If you ever need anything done with regards to operations, Dawn is the only call you need to make. Congratulations, Dawn. Next up from our transportation department, bus driver Rich Suter. Rich cultivates a caring and respectful environment while safely transporting students to and from school every day. He navigates challenging situations with calmness and has formed a relationship with the students he drives and beyond. As one nominator wrote, everyone that knows Mr. Rich loves Mr. Rich. You have never met a more outgoing, child-centered, positive, involved, uplifting bus driver. Congratulations, Rich. And finally, from our District Administration Center, Contract Procurement Specialist, Jamie Torres. Jamie is consistent in her forward thinking and commitment to continuous improvement. She's thoughtful in every interaction and has worked collaboratively with different departments. Her work is aligned with the district's goals. Quote, her contributions behind the scenes have had a significant and lasting impact, and the SPED team is stronger because of her efforts. Congratulations, Jamie. All right, it is, if there is any district office or senior leadership that would like to be in these pictures, come on up, and it's time for some pictures.
Yo, you gotta come in front. Yeah. Bill, you gotta come in front. Tally. Tally.
One more round of applause for our final Pride winners of the month. Honorees, please proceed out to the hall, gathering at the landing of the stairs for a group photo. Thank you to all families and colleagues who were here to support.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're oh, for the part, yeah. Thanks for reminding.
All right. Action item 5.1, approval of building administrator contracts. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the building administrator contracts as discussed and presented.
Second.
Dr. Pollock,
Yes.
Miss Robinson,
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone,
Aye.
Miss Wenmouth,
Aye.
Dr. Murillo,
Aye.
Miss C,
Aye.
Dr. Martin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, board. And with that, I want to invite Dr. Mitchell, or Superintendent for Human Resources, to speak to these recommendations.
Thank you, Dr. Kilgotti. Good evening, Board President Cerrone, Vice President Dr. Martin, members of the Board of Education, and Superintendent Dr. Kilgotti. There are 4 recommended candidates for this evening. Melissa Creasy as the assistant principal at Brokaw Elementary School, where Dr. Jennifer Grove serves as principal. Melissa brings over 25 years of diverse educational experience and a strong background in early childhood education. Her passion for early childhood education and her continuous pursuit of growth make her an outstanding fit for this role. Please join me in welcoming Melissa.
Thank you for being here.
Next, we have Mr. Casey Springer as principal of Plank Junior High School. Casey brings successful leadership experience at both the elementary and junior high level. He is the current interim principal at Plank Junior High. He has demonstrated an ability to build strong relationships with staff, students, and families. Casey is very well known for being visible and responsive to stakeholder needs. His ability to lead with consistency and trust make him a great fit for this role. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Casey Springer. Next, we have Mr. Stephen Tracy as the athletic director for Oswego East High School. Stephen is a current athletic director whose strengths of system thinking, collaboration, and problem solving all make him an ideal candidate for this position at Oswego East. Please join me in welcoming Stephen Tracy.
Okay, next one. Thank you, board.
Moving on to 5.2, approval of district administrator contract. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the district administrator contract as discussed and presented.
Second.
Ms. Wenmuth?
Aye.
Ms. C?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Ms. Robinson?
Aye.
Dr. Pollock?
Aye.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, board. With that, we want to introduce our next individual who will be joining our district, Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Dr. Kilgotti. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jennifer Cooper Wells as Executive Director of High Schools, where she will serve under the direct leadership of Dr. Kristen Paul. Jennifer brings a wide range of strengths to this role, including her broad teaching background, extensive leadership, and unwavering commitment to student success. She is highly experienced in data-driven strategies, social emotional well-being, and the engagement of diverse learners, all which make her an ideal candidate for this role. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Cooper Wells.
I want to thank the teams who engaged in the hiring process for working so hard and diligently and helping our district really become a destination place. And we know that it goes without saying, and every one of their references spoke very highly to their recommendations, and we look forward to your service and welcome to the team.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Agenda item 6.1.
Presentation
We
regarding
have
the,
a Oswego Police and Community Unit School District 308 partnership presentation.
yes, so good evening, board. This evening we're welcoming, and we want to thank the Chief Baston and his team. You will hear from him in a few minutes. And we also have Assistant Superintendent Mr. Bell, who will be speaking. Mr. Bell, would you join up?
I want to go
over
ahead
here?
and
Okay.
introduce our folks here. So this is Chief Jason Baston from Oswego Police Department, as well as Sergeant Brian Naring, who is Sergeant of Special Programs Operations Kitchen Sink. That pretty much covers it. At the request of them, we wanted to highlight a number of things that we do together, both in the school district as well as the things that are being done in the school community by our police department. So I'll kind of turn it over to you, and I hope that you see through aspects of this presentation the alignment that we have had in both our values and the actions and kind of interactions we've had with our kids.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the board for allowing us to come and present. I'm sure you guys have a lot of pressing matters. So just having a few minutes of your time, we really appreciate that. I'd also like to thank Dr. Calgotti, his leadership and our partnership we've had, as well as Jeremy Bell, Bailey Campbell, we work with a lot of your staff members, but the three of them here tonight really help build on this partnership you're going to hear about tonight. I would like to apologize. As a public speaker, I stand up, I walk around, I use my hands a lot, so sitting and holding a mic is probably going to crimp my style a little bit, so I apologize in advance for that. What I'm here to talk to you about tonight, before I hand the reins and the microphone over to Brian, is really an overview of our department, but it's not how many officers we have, it's not how many cars we have or what our stats are. It is about really our guiding principles, giving you our organizational philosophy. I took over as the chief of police a little less than 2 years ago. And one of the first things I wanted to look at was our mission. And we had a beautiful mission statement, like a lot of organizations. It was about a paragraph long. And the problem was none of our officers could memorize a mission statement that long. And I thought it was very important for our people that are out there, all of our staff, to know what our mission is and to have something simple that they can take out with them every day when they go out and interact with the public. So we went from something that was very long, a great mission statement, down to serve and protect with dignity and respect. And I stole two different ideas and plugged them together. Serving and protecting, most people have heard it as protect and serve. I wanted to put the service first because that's the majority of what we do. We are public servants, and the majority of our time and energy is spent serving the public. We could talk for hours about the protection side of things, and I do want to assure you that the Oswego Police Department is highly trained, and we have some very capable people that do a great job at protecting the public, but that's not what I'm here to talk to you about tonight. The dignity and respect part, that is how we serve and protect. If you're familiar with the 10 shared principles, that is something that the Illinois Chiefs of Police and the NAACP came together and created 10 shared principles that everyone could agree upon. Number 2 on that was to treat everyone with dignity and respect. So that is why I wanted that incorporated into our mission statement. The next thing I wanted to do is look at our core values. Similar to the mission statement, we had a whole page of them. They were value statements. They were great, but nobody could remember them. So I wanted we wanted to cut them down to as few as we possibly could that still covered everything we do. And we came up with empathy, professionalism, integrity, and courage. I did not know until we were preparing this that we share 2 core values with the school district. I hadn't looked at your core values. I also have to admit, we call them our EPIC core values, EPIC. Well, that though wasn't on purpose, and I'm terrible at word scrambles, so after we had the 4 words, I had to Google, what does PCINE, what kind of word can you make out of this? And there's really only one English word you can make out of that, and it's EPIC. So those core values are something we have been instilling in our officers, and we want them to take out with them and every day with every interaction they have with the public. The other thing we're really placing an emphasis on, you probably are familiar with community policing. And there's a lot of words up on the screen right now. I'm not going to read them to you, but we really looked at 3 core community policing principles. And what they ultimately boil down to is that we as a police department need to work to build partnerships with all the stakeholders in the public. And the reason we need to do this is because it's really a selfish reason, because for us to effectively do our job, we need the support and really the consent of the public for us to be successful. And to do that, we have to build relationships. And when police departments have gotten in trouble in the past, it's because they haven't put forth that effort to build the relationships. And you end up with an us versus them type of mentality. And we want to be a part of the public, and we believe we are part of the public, not separate from it. This is probably, this is not something I came up with. This is what's called a Peelian principle. It's Sir Robert Peel, who's considered the father of modern policing. This is almost 200 years old at this point. But you can see the highlighted section that the police are the public and the public are the police. And really what that means is it's incumbent upon every citizen that cares about the welfare of their community to do certain tasks. And all the police are a group of that public, a group of those same citizens who have been tasked with doing that. And we're not separate from the public. We are a part of the public, and the public is not separate from us. We rely on our relationships, and we rely on the public to really do a lot of the policing for us. And that means building relationships, being able to prevent crime before it happens, being able to go in and have the opportunity to mentor. And I don't want to step on Brian's toes here with some of the stuff he's going to present, but it really is a lot more than just law enforcement. I don't really like calling us law enforcement because that's one of the things we do, but that's not everything we do. And being able to interact with the community and build those bridges, that is where we are going to be our most effective. I do want to just mention 4 initiatives that fall under this community policing. The first one, Handle with Care. This is something we started doing this last year, or this school year. Whenever one of our officers has interaction with a student in this district, and it doesn't have to be direct interaction, but say, for instance, our officers went out to a really bad car crash, and maybe a student's parents were injured in that car crash. We're going to notify the school, hey, this student just had this issue go on. So that way, if that student comes into school the next day, they've been through some kind of traumatic event, the school is aware of it ahead of time. So if they're acting a little different, or so the school can offer some extra services to that student. And I will say, we're not the first police department to do this, but I will say that we do this pretty well. Once we initiated this, there's a lot of work, and it creates a lot of oversight on Brian's part, but we send a lot of messages to the school. And it's a lot of it is real minor stuff, but that way the school is equipped with that information in case they need to do something the next day. Our community engagement unit, that is a new unit we just started this year. These are officers who devote part of their time to really not doing any quote unquote police work. They are just out building relationships with different groups in our community. In the first 4 months of this year, we just started, they've already done 40 different events. And it's all kinds of events, whether it's school events, going out to homeowners associations, going out to different groups with students, or even things like Special Olympics. And we really just want to have them spend time and build those relationships. Later this year, we are going to have our first full-time community engagement specialist. And that is going to be a police officer that does nothing but this community engagement work. A lot of other departments call them community-oriented policing officers. Same thing, we just gave it a different title, community engagement specialist. One of the other programs is the Citizen at Risk program. So this is something where we have officers, we have some officers specially trained in this, but for instance, if we have, say, a child with autism, and let's say maybe they're a wanderer, and they go, and we will enter all this information in, we'll talk to the parents. Let's say they wandered once and we found them somewhere. Now we know that location, and maybe they'll go back there again. We also will know what their likes and dislikes are. And as an example, our community engagement unit, they partnered with one of our local businesses. They made a bunch of goodie bags that then we delivered to many of the kids on the list. Has a lot of different things in there, you know, stress balls, fidget spinners, things like that. But it's just another way so that we can have contact with them in a non-missing person or a non-confrontational setting, so they're already familiar with us and we know what will work with them if one of our officers has to talk to them in the future. My final thing here is we're your biggest police partner. I know you guys have a lot more than 13 schools, but we have 13 of your schools that are in our district. And Brian and I are very much of one mind on almost everything, except when it comes to the crosstown game, because I was a school resource officer here in this building. So I'm always a wolf at heart, cheering for the wolf pack, where he's more on the Panther side of things. No, I'm just kidding. Even in the crosstown games, I hope everybody does good. But we really,
okay. We accept a good rivalry. He may not agree with you, Chief.
I'm coming at this not just as the chief of police now or a police officer. I was a school resource officer. Brian was a school resource officer. We've worked in the schools. We've worked with students. We've worked with staff. we have a good understanding of what a good partnership is. And I believe that your district and our police department have had a very good partnership over the years. And we want to keep that going and find ways to improve upon that. And I believe we really have been working toward that end. And now I'm going to turn it over to Special Assignment Sergeant and the kitchen sink, Brian Nearing, who's going to give you all the good information on that.
I had one joke, and I actually brought a prop, and I didn't know who was going to tell that joke. It's an OHS hat. Yeah. So, yeah, once a Panther, always a Panther, Chief. So. My name is Brian Nearing. I've been with the police department for 22 years, and about 11 years of that, I've either been in the school or collaborating something with District 308. So it's really been a pleasure to spend half of my career working with the students and the staff. I can give props right now to Jeremy Bell's team, Bailey Campbell and Mike Frieders. They are fantastic to work with. They have the biggest heart and care for the kids, I can tell you that right now, and their collaborative efforts with me and our team is fantastic. Jeremy and I know each other very well at this point because I think we speak to each other at 9 o'clock at night, probably 3 times a week, collaborating with things. I'm not sure my wife likes him though, but
Probably not.
so to go for that, our biggest partnership here is, or one of our biggest partnership is the team that I have a pleasure to work with, which is our SROs that are in the schools. So our SROs are assigned to each high school. They attend school anytime that kids are in session. They work with the kids. They have a whole bunch of different gamuts that we'll kind of go into and kind of roles and missions. But the biggest thing is they take a personalized approach to it. They're really trying to take a human side approach where they're just a person working with a student or the staff members. And I wanted to introduce them tonight. I've been working with the school a lot and never been able to introduce technically the SROs to the board. So I have the pleasure of Kim Lorenzo from Oswego High School. And Joe Cisneros from right here at Oswego East. So again, they take that personalized approach, but I give them a mission. So our team has our mission inside the chief's mission statement, and that is to lead by example, promote positive image of law enforcement to students in the school community. So while they're treating whatever they're doing on their daily basis, they're falling back to that mission that we want to have a positive environment. And what's awesome about working inside the school is sometimes a PD has some cynical side to it, but you go into that school and it's always this positive environment. So it's a really breath of fresh air when officers are assigned to schools. It's really kind of a cool thing. I really wish every officer had the chance to have that experience. But we know that we don't just necessarily send any police officer inside the school. We're looking for specific qualities to have the best effectiveness, to have the best outcome when we have an officer in the school. And so while we're looking for somebody that's highly trained, I'm looking for somebody that's patient, that's highly specialized in de-escalation skills, that's outgoing. That's a huge one. To be able to have the willingness to make those positive interactions, make friends, build that trust in amongst the school community, and that's students and staff alike. And so, and being a skilled communicator, they're asked to go talk in front of people quite often, and so I want somebody that the kids can relate to. So we have found that in our 2 officers, and as we speak here, it's unfortunate, but Officer Lorenzo has been picked to be our next detective. And so he unfortunately will be leaving us, but it also gives us this ability to go through the skill set of other officers that have applied for the job. And it'll be a new opportunity for an officer, a new opportunity to an officer to put their stamp on what the SRO looks like in our schools. So I'm very excited about that opportunity. But ultimately, go to the next one, please. Ultimately, what we're looking for is an SRO that can make an impact. I preach it to my guys all the time. An SRO in the school can make more impact on one day than an officer can on the street for a month. They continually see people and they can work with people through their problems, whereas an officer on the street sees somebody and they may not see them again ever. So this is our future. This is our future business owners in town. These are our future homeowners in town. These are our future, this is the future of us, and they have the ability to have some part of that and direct kids along with the school staff in a positive way. And so I really like that ability for them to make that impact. Next one. So this is a model that is put together where there's three major components of our SRO: a law enforcement component, an educator component, and an informal counselor. While this is the model that we potentially use, it's really not to scale, because it really, as Chief had said, it puts law enforcement as the same kind of equal as everything else. Where ultimately, our team looks at it where we have an educational, a counseling, and a mentoring component, and then the last thing is our law enforcement component. So I'll go through those a little bit. There isn't a day that goes by that students, staff are not in talking with the SRO for asking questions about how can you help me with problems at home? How can you help me with conflicts with other students? A counselor may call the SRO because they're working with something that the kid confided to them, and they need some other resources. And so we are really involved in those type of scenarios. The deans on a daily basis are asking for assistance. Say, we have this scenario, how would you like us to handle this? How can we best suit the student? And so that, from a counseling and mentoring perspective, is fantastic. The second that kind of goes in hand is that educational piece. The SROs, they go into they go into classrooms on a daily basis. They're talking in front of kids, driver's ed classes, forensic classes. It could be anything that they're talking about in that unit they could be talking about. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but there's actually a criminal justice class that they teach in. So each school per semester hosts a class in conjunction with Waubonsie Community College, and the SRO actually has the ability to teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday for that semester. And they're teaching what all law enforcement aspects, they're bringing in Illinois State Police, canines, bomb squad. The chief talks from a 30,000-foot view of how his organization works and how he leads. I get to come in and talk about evidence technicians and forensics and whatnot. And so it's a fantastic way for that officer to get in front and really advocate for law enforcement and say, but this is how we actually do things. What's awesome about that is it seems like back in the day, the classes were filled with prospective police officers. While we still have that, I ask all the kids in there, what are they doing? Where are they going? It's awesome to see kind of where the future of these kids are. And there's attorneys, there's people that want to go in forensics. There is the kid that just wanted to learn about law enforcement and take a class. I mean, we get in front of a lot of people, so it's a kind of a cool experience for that, from that standpoint. And then the last part is the law enforcement piece. 100% kids need a safe environment to go to school. That's why you see us in a semi-uniform, walking around the hallways, talking to kids, at the front door when kids come in first to greet them when they come into school, making sure that the doors are locked and walking around and doing safety checks and whatnot with the school. That is a huge component of it. And then the unfortunate part is when there is criminality in the school. That's something that we have to deal with. And so what we do is we're focusing on the preventative portion and problem solving, but also teaching kids the right or wrong and that mentor portion, that counseling portion. But while we're doing all these things, it's my job and the chief's job and our job to always evaluating what we're doing and making sure that we're doing what's right for the students and the school environment. And so ultimately, when we are faced with some sort of criminal element, some crime that happened, we have kind of 4 different ways we can kind of come to an outcome of what that looks like. Ultimately, if the staff and school says, hey, we had this crime that occurs, how do we want to handle it? We collaborate with them. We could go as little as counseling. And we like that. We can be able to get in front of a student after the dean has said, hey, this is what's right or wrong. And then they can bring us in as somebody, as a second voice, somebody with a uniform on that the student might see us in a little different light and be able to listen, hey, this is really serious. You can't do this, learn from your mistake and move on, right? The next thing, if we need to bump it up a little more than that, we do have the ability to issue ordinance violation tickets. That is a small financial penalty that stays within the village. That's something we'll talk about here in just a little bit about how we deal with ordinance violation tickets. The third thing could be a referral to our Kendall County Juvenile Probations Department. That is technically an arrest, and we would be charging the student. When we go through some numbers later, I want you guys to understand what a referral really is and what it means when we make the decision to arrest a student. Number one, we don't take that lightly. We don't like to charge students. But ultimately, when it has to happen, this referral process is not putting people in handcuffs. This is not removing kids from the schools. We don't want to remove kids from the school environment. The school district can make that decision. We don't want to place kids in handcuffs. This is ultimately working with the student and the parent, referring that kid with a piece of paper over to juvenile probations for what's called a diversion program. And ultimately, the student and the parent would sit down with somebody from juvenile probations and look at, from a restorative practice, what is the best outcome for the student. We're just moving them over to juvenile probations to do that work within the county. Lastly, and our least thing, but it does have the most impact, would be a custodial arrest of handcuffing somebody and removing them from the school environment. That is something that we definitely don't take lightly. We do not like doing it, but we only reserve we reserve that practice for times in which the safety of the school environment is necessary to remove that kid based on the crime that they committed. I can tell you right now that that happens potentially 2 to 3 times per year for all of our schools within our jurisdiction. So that is not a common practice for us. This is something that we wait until it's something from a safety perspective. So I kind of want to move on and talk about our ordinance violation tickets that we talked about. So in the history of how we've policed in the schools, we started issuing years ago ordinance violation tickets in lieu of arresting students in order to limit the amount of referrals that we were making for vaping, for small amounts of drugs, whatnot, that would fit into a category, and it's almost all vaping at this point. And so, as you can see, in 22-23, we issued over 100 tickets within the 2 schools. We realized that giving a financial penalty is not potentially the best for the student, right? It's giving a financial penalty that a lot of times the parents are taking the brunt of. We don't know the economic status of the people that we're dealing with. And what kind of educational value is the student really getting? So we collabed with Jeremy and his team and the school district, and we realized that we need to change that practice. And so prior to the 23-24 school year, we implemented an educational piece that anytime that somebody was referred to us for a vaping type issue, we took them through an education intervention, vape intervention class is basically what we're calling it, and that was in lieu of a ticket. So it was some type of educational piece, and we were hoping that they would learn something from it, the bad effects of vaping, right? Ultimately, that dropped our tickets dramatically. You can see that the next year we only issued around 20. And those 20 were ones in which the kids and the parents decided that it wasn't worth their time to go to the vape intervention class, or we had a repeat offender after the vaping class. That was the majority of those kids were the ones that opted out to not take it. Oh, well, yes. And that it's a good thing to know that class is provided free to the parents. We have taken the brunt of that price and actually paid for those classes for the kids. So that's how valuable we think this is. Ultimately, I'm happy to tell you though, 24-25 school year, we have 2 weeks left, right? We have issued 0 vape tickets. So, and yes, whoever knocked on wood, I was going to do that because we're so close. We're so close. So,
Just don't vape, anyone listening. Sorry, I had to say that. Just don't do it. PSA.
if you want to go to the next slide, please. So these are just some of our referral numbers. Now, you can see that there was an increase in 23, 24. That could be from a variety of things. That could be the fact that we eliminated tickets for fighting and disorderly conduct. So when somebody did have a fight that we deemed necessary in our workings, that we had to take some action, we weren't writing tickets for those anymore. We decided that tickets weren't the way to go. So we ended up referring some kids. And so our uptick in that might have happened from that. But I don't know if that's the fact, because we're still having that same practice this year, and you can see that our numbers are lower too. So we're not quite sure. But here's what we do know, is that we're always continuing to make improvements and looking at our data and seeing what is the best way that we can handle our issues with students. And so I'm happy to tell you, and I'm very excited to say that starting next year, we're going to implement what are called station adjustments. And I don't know if everybody knows what a station adjustment is, But basically, it's a way for us to still hold kids accountable, to still teach them what's right or wrong, but to keep them out of the formal criminal justice system, out of the courts. And so what,
That's a big deal.
now I can't tell you that we're going to be able to do that with every crime, but we went ahead and looked back at our last years and the years prior crimes and said, how many are we going to deem as high level? How many are we going to deem station adjustment? And it is a humongous number. It's a large percentage. I can't tell you what percentages are off the top of my head, but it's very much the 3/4 to 75%, if not higher of those. We'll be able to give station adjustments. So basically what that looks like is we'll be able to sit down and collab with the school, sit down with the parents, collab with the parents, and that happens immediately. So we have an effect that's going to be able to show the student, this is what they did wrong. These are the conditions that which the parent thinks the kid should get, as well as what the school can help them out to bring this kid forward and get them on the right path, and then impose those conditions on them. What's awesome about it is they can work in conjunction with the SRO. And now we have continual conversations with this kid, with the SRO, and it also can build that relationship with our SROs as well. And so there's just, it's all positive things that we're getting out of this. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to implement that. And I think it's exciting for us. So going forward, this is not my slide. I think this is yours, but let me.
No, it's okay. Can I mention something about the station adjustment?
Yeah.
So, and this is the next slide is the very last slide. But I want to highlight, you know, these guys have sat up here and talked about a lot of the things that the police department's doing, and you know, there's always positive stories, there's always negative stories. But I've worked with a number of different agencies, if you will, and many times those relationships are transactional. And what I've seen with OPD and the two people sitting in front of you, as well as our SROs in the crowd, is that they really do live what they say. We were on the phone today with Sergeant Nering, and he's like, you know what, we got to do whatever we can to help this kid. Like, there's no point in charging a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old or a 6-year-old, because that's not getting us to where we want to be. And so they can talk about these things and they can give you all the bullet points and all the bolded print and all that other stuff, but they are living what they say. And as I said, I've worked with many agencies where that's not always the case.
No, that is not.
And so to have leadership sitting here saying, this is what we believe in, but they're actually acting on it and trying to keep kids out of the court system and trying to keep kids to have a relationship with law enforcement that is not a negative interaction or a traumatizing interaction is huge. And so you won't see any of that in the slides, but if you spend enough time in our schools with these folks, you spend enough time with these guys outside of that, just at a community event, I hope you see that there is a person behind that uniform, and that's what they preach, and they also live that. So.
Thank you. I don't have much more. I just wanted to kind of talk about looking forward to continuing our partnership with you guys. There's some things that, you know, Jeremy and our team have been working on. Jeremy and Mike, they actually attended one of our trainings over the last month and was able to sit in front of all of our staff. And we really were able to talk about this partnership with officers that don't know about, that have really shied away from working in the school setting. And so it was great to be able to expand their knowledge in that manner. So I really look forward to working with you guys and continue our partnership, growing our partnership. We provided all of you with our business cards. One of the things that I really want to make sure that is if you have questions, we're an open book. We're always available. And so please reach out to us if you ever have any concerns, questions, or anything that we can help you with. So thank you for having us today.
All right. Thank you very much. So if I may, board, just in terms of open, I just want to thank you both for your presentation this evening. Very illuminating. You deal with some of the toughest parts of our communities and what happens in terms of challenges. And I would say that the way in which you brought your vision, your epic values in terms of priorities really does lend itself. As you know, Chief and I have talked about this, we, whether it's our school institution, schools, police, hospitals have not always been the friendliest places for people of color and have been really the source of a lot of hurt. Whether you go into a hospital and you get less than mediocre care because of who you are. Whether it's you enter a school and you are marginalized in terms of the statistics and you experience less than excellent education. I was told that I couldn't even go very far in my education by teachers growing up. And so those were our schools. And the same goes for police, whether it's the reputation or the experience of many in dealing with policing. And so it was really an incredible learning for me when I came to this district and was able to learn about your commitment to continuous improvement, to learn about how you had taken ownership yourselves, really, to lead us in thinking about the ticketing practices and in partnership with the district. I think it speaks volumes for all of us in these various institutions to think about how we rethink how we do business with both our students, with our community, and with each other. And I want to thank you for centering that practice. It calls me to account. And it really, the expression iron sharpens iron. I really feel that. And you've really demonstrated those qualities this evening in the way you framed your presentation, and your challenge to yourselves is a challenge to me as I think about my leadership as executor of this district and supporting the board's vision. And ultimately, the board does have a mission for championing justice for our children and dignity. And so you really demonstrated that in your presentation and really opened up an ability to have an honest and honestly a restorative conversation. And I want to just underscore one last thing, and then I'm sure board members will want to add something or raise questions. But the leadership of wanting to introduce station adjustments is truly remarkable. That cannot be overstated or understated. Overstated. That is truly remarkable, and it speaks to that next step. The ticketing was one thing, but to go that next step in recognizing that the impact of an arrest can have on a child's life when they're 16, 14, 12 years old is so substantial, and for you all to take a lead on that when that is not the public narrative, right? And so I want to thank you all for your courage, because it does take courage for not being afraid to do what's right for kids. And so thank you all for that.
Yeah, I just have a couple comments, and then I think just one question or two questions. Thank you for the approach that you're taking in this presentation in regards to what you're calling community policing and really putting the serving over, arrests and things like that. I appreciate that. I can't, I think Dr. Kilgatti said it best, that not all communities have that relationship with, police departments as such. One of the things that I think about when I think about the numbers of that you have here and other numbers as well, like in schools, we often will take like assessment data and then disaggregate it so we can see, are there inequities in that data? So are Black students doing better than our white students? Are our male students doing better than our female students? Are economically disadvantaged students doing not as well as some of our economically advantaged students? Do you all take that same approach to the numbers that you have on students in our system?
It depends on what it is. I can tell you, on the ordinance tickets, because I'll use that as one of the best examples, because we saw an explosion of ordinance tickets. What happened is we thought we were doing the right thing by saying, hey, instead of arresting, let's write a ticket. It's better than arresting. And then Illinois legalized cannabis, and suddenly it was very easy for kids to get cannabis vapes. And I have a problem with kids that can't get through the school day without some form of self-medication or whatever you want to call it. There's something going on there. You shouldn't have to toke up at school to get through the school day. Unless maybe you're a teacher. I don't know. The teachers might need it, but not the students. Sorry.
HR, was this a message for you?
Can we turn that mic off? Can we?
So it is a real issue we need to deal with.
We can edit that out, right?
We started writing the tickets and that exploded. We do not, unfortunately, on our ordinance tickets track race. Now arrests, we would have that data. I don't know that we've actually parsed that data out. We do it organizationally as a whole. I don't think we've ever broken out the schools separately. We just look at overall our entire arrest data, our traffic stop data, but on ordinance tickets, because it's a civil offense, or it's not even an offense, it's not a criminal offense, it's just a civil ticket we're issuing somebody. We've never tracked race data on that. So I cannot tell you on that side of things which way that went, but like I said, the one thing that was very obvious, we just had this spike where we just had a ton of kids coming to school, smoking cannabis at school through vapes, and we knew we had to deal with it. And ultimately, it kind of, I'll be honest with you, in a way, it snuck up on us. I couldn't believe where we got to with tickets. I was like, this is ridiculous. And Brian started working with Jeremy. He's like, we've got to do something to fix this, and tickets are not the answer. But yes, to answer your question on
for the ordinance
the
pieces,
outcome side of it, on what the racial data would have been on that, I don't have any of that information.
Can you disaggregate it by school, like this many from OHS, this many males, females, grade levels, or anything like that? What ways can you look at that data?
Well, if you're talking specifically for the ordinance tickets that we were writing, definitely per school. We have that broken down. I just don't have that data in front of us.
That's all right.
Yeah, we could do male, female. What was the third one?
I was thinking of like socioeconomic status, or age, or grade level.
So
How would we
I will
figure
tell
out
you
that?
that if we, again, interface the two from what we're seeing from them, that's part of the next phase of our data journey, right? Is we know we have to have the ability to pull those reports, disaggregate those reports. We're hoping to be able to do that with some better certainty and some better efficiency with the data warehouse that will allow us to do some of those things. Because right now, just pulling raw data out of Power School and some of those other things is a tremendous amount of time and labor put into that to be able to spin that data to make it user-friendly, to then make sustainable change like in the system. So the approach that we've had over the last 2 years in working with these guys has really been, let's look at process, and let's look at the system, and understand where we think right now, just where we're seeing the high numbers of things, and what that's doing to all kids. And now let's start to look at those subgroups and those cohorts to determine where we need to leverage different aspects of that. So we'll see that come out in MTSS. We'll see that come out in a data warehouse. We'll see that come out in the strategic planning process as we've developed those objectives to start to look at some of those different groups.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I mean, the
Jeremy.
great thing is that those numbers are fairly low. And so even when you just aggregated it, it might not be as beneficial to look at it in that way. But
I think it's always beneficial. Anytime we're putting we're putting kids in front of law enforcement, in front of our officers, we want to make sure that it's the right intentions there if they made a mistake. And 9 times out of 10, the conversation is, how do we get the kid where they need to go? How do we charge the kid? And what did they do? What did they violate?
yeah.
And so the numbers are small, but they're still there. And there's room to grow in other aspects to be more proactive than just reactive.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
my last question is just about station adjustments and what is the timeline for that process to take place?
Yeah, so that's kind of the beauty of it, is if we were to refer to juvenile probations, there's a time lapse, right? You're working with multiple organizations. It may take a month for them to get an appointment, and I don't like that. I like, in order to make the biggest impact, well, I know from having my own kids, if they did something wrong and then I tried to correct them a month later, they'd be like, what are you talking about, right? And so this allows us literally on the day of to start that collaborative effort. And
I'm sorry, is this in practice right now? The station adjustment, is that in practice right now?
no,
My
no.
question is about timeline for implementation
I'm
for that.
so sorry.
No,
I
that's
thought
okay.
you were talking about inside of the station adjustment. I apologize.
That's okay.
No, timeline would be starting at the beginning of next school year.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
apologize. I misunderstood.
I will say that the other agencies are looking at this also,
That's great.
because these guys only have 13 schools. We serve, we have 5 different agencies that impact our schools. So when we look at, that equitable piece, right, we want to be able to offer many of these things to all of our kids. But we've had those conversations about bringing all of our agencies together to see how we can be much more cohesive as a group. But as they said, they serve the majority or a large portion of our group.
Well, we're counting on it. We appreciate the leadership to get there because I think it's an important change for all of our areas. So let's make it happen. with that, I think I want to thank you all for your time this evening, and I know I'm sure we'll be able to contact you for further questions. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Moving on to public comment, Ursula, Bryn. Okay, we do have a public comment tonight. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank the public for attending tonight's meeting. We value the feedback we receive from our members of the public and encourage everyone to take an active interest in their public school system. Individuals interested in speaking to the board this evening are asked to have completed a comment card and presented it to the secretary to the board. When the secretary calls your name, I ask you that you come to the microphone, state your name for the public record, and provide your feedback. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. The board does not participate in discussion during public comment. Comments should address the Board of Education as a whole and not be directed to an individual board member, audience, or staff member. Follow-up to your questions or concerns may be addressed by administration through the contact information provided on the comment card. Thank you.
Michelle Traeger.
Hi, Michelle Traeger, parent of 4. Please do not start my time yet. I wasn't here last week, so I want to thank Jennifer, Latanya, Eugene, and Jared for your years of service to the board and to the district. I want to welcome Dr. Martin, Dr. Pollock, Ms. Robinson, and Ms. C. I want to say congrats to our new board officers. I want to say thank you to our student ambassadors because this is a huge commitment and it's a lot of energy for us to concentrate. I can't imagine the energy it is for you guys after everything you're involved in, and you bring, you just articulate so well some of the concerns from the student perspective. So thank you. And I want to say goodbye to Ursula. Ursula, I've known you through this superintendent and the one before and the one before that. And you're really important and we're going to miss you. Okay, now you can start my time. Tonight, the improvement plans for Title I schools, including Boulder Hill, are on the agenda. And I want to thank the staff of Boulder Hill who worked to develop the plan. I had a couple thoughts reading through it. I like some of the things that are in the plan: the staffing of a SPED interventionist assistant, before and after school tutoring, transportation to accomplish that, and of course, compensation of our staff for those hours. All of the goals in that plan relate to children with disabilities. And I want to point out that one of those goals focuses on raising reading proficiency, and another focuses on raising math proficiency within this population. In the lead up to the recent election, there may have been misinformation that reading and math are not priorities. The report begins with the continuous school improvement model. It describes identifying a school leadership team and building a stakeholder advisory group. I would hope that parents will be invited to be a part of this stakeholder advisory group. No one holds bigger stakes. The implementation of key activities towards these goals includes staff. I'm guessing that staff includes our teaching assistants. One obstacle from a parent's perspective is that at Boulder Hill, TAs are often pulled from their TA duties to sub for teachers or LBSs. We don't have enough subs. This affects service to students, so it must be considered if it will also affect implementing key activities towards the goals in this plan. Another challenge regarding TAs, I heard a rumor that the district told Boulder Hill that they are, quote, overstaffed. And I think that this is in ratio to the number of IEP minutes. But we have to live in reality. Several very high-need students do not have IEPs in place, and I don't know if they've been identified for case study, but they require and deserve resources. So this has to be taken in consideration in terms of whether or not they're overstaffed. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's also National Foster Care Month, and those things both relate, of course, to fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. It could be any month: birth defects, brain injury, neurodiversity, adoption, alcohol awareness, and of course the month of September itself, I will talk about FASD because they're all connected. As far as mental health awareness, at least 90% of those with a fetal alcohol spectrum disorder have co-occurring mental health disorders. Male adolescents with FASD reported a serious suicide attempt at a rate 19.5 times higher than national norms. Studies have found that among children diagnosed with FASD, 70% are or have been in foster care. And the percentage of youth in foster care with an FASD diagnosed is as high as 28%. But estimates are actually that that number is higher because of the rate of misdiagnosis. So what is the rate? 1 in 20 is what we've been talking about, so at least 1 in every classroom. But a study from 2018 to 2020 found that nearly 1 in 7 pregnant people reported drinking alcohol in the past 30 days. That's pre-pandemic, and we know that the rate of binge drinking significantly increased during the pandemic. And we would see those kids coming into our school in early childhood now. Another study, the Adolescent Brain Cognitive Development Study, which is longitudinal, ongoing, it's based on parental reports. 26% of over 9,700 adolescents were prenatally exposed to alcohol. 1 in 4 pregnancies. And very exciting news, there is going to be a statewide free training in October on FASD. I think we're going to have 2 days in the Chicago area and 2 days down in Springfield, free. So I hope somebody from this district, at least one somebody, would like to attend that. I only have a minute, dual language. First, I want to thank 1st, 3rd, and 4th grade Boulder Hill dual language teachers who organized the Pen Pal program with students at U of I, who belong to the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. They do this all year, and April 26th was the field trip for Boulder Hill students to meet their college buddies. And it's so cool to see, like, they were waiting there for the buses, and like, wow, these kids, these little 1st and 3rd and 4th graders are important to these big college people who are successful. Junior high, we need an update, please, from our district leadership. What's the status on bridging for math for incoming 6th graders? Honor social studies available for DL. We know there was teacher upheaval again this year, not as bad as last year. What is the structured mentorship like for these teachers at Plank? We would like leadership to communicate with parents as they did at the BPAC meeting at the beginning of the year. And we need to also be concerned with what supports are available to our DL students as they move to high school. There's a specific path in class that is recommended. My kids are at OHS, and they have had a successful, joyful experience. No short of amazing, considering the educational trauma they endured at Plank that they're still not over. But I have heard that the experience at East is markedly different. So I hope there can be some consistency so that all graduates of DL can experience success and joy at the high school level as they continue to explore the language and culture. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other? No?
No.
Okay. Move on to superintendent's report. Dr. Kilgay.
All right. Good evening, board. Just on behalf of our senior leadership team and really all the hardworking members of this district community, I'm thrilled to be here with our newly elected and returning board members. It's truly an honor to continue in our service to our district and to our students. Last week, we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week. We also had School Nurse Day and National Sign Language Interpreter Day. And it was really amazing to see our staff members being recognized. Truly an honor to be a part of that work by their peers, leaders, parent groups, and other community members who really stepped up and came in and found ways to show appreciation to our staff. And we want to thank them for making time to recognize our staff in every part of our district. Tonight, we had the pleasure of celebrating our last group of Pride recipients, and what an incredible feeling. And this tradition that we've had in this district is really important. And I want to thank our communications department involving Jesse, Brenna, Cindy, led by Teresa Camitas for their leadership. To give you some context, we received an impressive 1,500 nominations representing every school and department. And so we look forward to continuing to grow this incredible program next year. So thank you again to Teresa and her team. As we approach an eventful next several days, we want to recognize our high school seniors in particular. Each of our elementary schools will be hosting one of the most awesome traditions, which is our alumni walk later this week. You want to see some true moving experiences where our elementaries will be welcoming our high school seniors back to their early stomping grounds. Students will have the opportunity to see their former teachers and staff members and celebrate their upcoming graduation. This serves as a motivation for our younger students. This sentimental tradition will be a sight to see, and board members, if you haven't signed up, I think many of you have, please do so. You will not regret it. This Saturday, we have our seniors who will walk across the stage at Northern Illinois University to receive their diplomas. Yes! 12 years is not a short amount of time. So we want to thank them for their perseverance, and they'll be receiving their diplomas, and alumni will be welcomed as alumni. We are so proud of their accomplishment. Believe it or not, tongue-tied, this is our final board meeting of the school year before the school year actually ends. We have a board meeting in June, but that will be after the school year has let out officially. When we think about this, time has just flown by this year. It's been an incredible year, and I want to thank again our staff, our students, our families for all their partnership in making this a truly momentous and memorable year. This has been a year also not without loss. We've unfortunately lost important members of our community, a student, family members, students, actually, and community members whose lives impacted many of us. And in these days of celebration, we keep them close in our hearts. And your legacy for those who passed is with us. For families, we know that we think of them and we hold them close to our heart, and they are part of our legacy, not to be forgotten. Students, we want you to finish strong in these final days. Never stop doing your very best. As you know, we are doing the best we can in serving you. Last but not least, I want to take a minute this evening to acknowledge, and we had a chance to do this last week a bit, but I want to, since this is our official last meeting, our two board members, Hope Rie and Kali Parnell, and we want to just thank you for your demonstrated courage, tenacity, your forthright, your eloquence in raising important topics. Both of you, of your own right, did an incredible job. And I would say, as I was sharing earlier, iron sharpens iron. You sharpened us this year. You helped us think beyond what were sometimes overlooked topics. And you were not in any way afraid to lean in and with great dignity, honestly, speak to difficult subjects. And I want to recognize you for your courage in doing so. And we are so excited that we had a chance to work with you here in 308. And we look forward to years to come of hearing good news of your successes. So. And with that, I'll turn it over to our board members who have some additional shout outs, because there are so many exciting things in this district that we cannot forget some of those things. And I want to thank the board members. It has been our tradition to share some of these updates. So you're welcome to join us in doing so.
Maya Olson, Anna Singh, and Ariana Vargas of Oswego High School will have their artwork displayed at the 2025 IAEA Statewide Student Art Show in this October. This artwork is part of more than 40 2D, 3D pieces selected from over 700 submissions. Congratulations to these students and their teachers.
Many of our students from Plank Junior High, Oswego High School, and Oswego East High School celebrated the end of their journeys in our dual language program at their graduation ceremony. We're so proud of their hard work and accomplishments throughout the years. Congratulations.
And in bass fishing news, for the first time ever, the Oswego High School bass fishing boat brought home a full bag, which is 5 fish, in a tournament. Y'all are jealous, aren't you?
I like that.
Their final weight of 7.77 pounds earned second place in the SPC conference tournament. Congratulations to the Panther fishing team.
All right. Our students at the Pathway Transition Center have been busy in the community lately. Recently, they visited Bickford Senior Living and had the opportunity to play games with the residents. We love seeing our students connect with community.
Oswego East alum Ashton Izzy, a right-handed pitcher, is currently the Seattle Mariners' number 19th ranked prospect. He has been assigned to the High A Everett Aqua Sox and succeeded in his recent debut. Congratulations to Ashton.
Nice. Minor league team and their names.
The Oswego High School Reflector Yearbook earned the Gallery of Excellence Award from Walsworth. This award is earned by only 5% of books published by Walsworth nationwide. Congratulations to advisor Eva Tulak and the Reflector staff.
Our senior awards night will take place this week. Here, we will recognize student scholarships, awards, acceptances into military and trades, and other achievements. Congratulations to our soon-to-be graduates from Oswego and Oswego East High Schools.
Congratulations. Is that where you're coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Downstairs.
And with that, I'll, Mr. President, turn
We'll
it over
move
for
to
board
our
comments.
student
Yeah.
board reports.
As the school year draws to close, we find ourselves at a meaningful crossroads, looking back on what we accomplished and ahead to what we aspire to become.
This year one of our 2025 to 2026 strategic journey was centered on key themes: improving teacher relationships. At the heart of those themes was a clear goal: to strengthen the relationships between students and teachers. We knew that academic success cannot flourish without trust, empathy, and open dialogue, and so we set out to build those bridges.
One of the most valuable spaces for this growth was our community Speak and Spark session. What'd you do, Dave? Sorry. These conversations gave us the opportunity to hear directly from our students, staff, and families. Together, we discussed the everyday realities of our classrooms, the impact of phone use, and how the quality of our communication shapes the overall culture of learning. These forums reminded us that respect isn't a policy, it's a practice, and that change starts with listening.
As we transition into year 2, 2026 to 2027, our focus expands to cultural and relational responsiveness as well as mental health. We are committed to creating a learning environment where everyone feels seen, heard, and supported, not just academically, but emotionally and culturally. We will continue to ask hard questions, support one another, and build systems of care that reflect the needs of our diverse community.
Then, in year 3, 2027 to 2023, we'll take on the challenge of navigating censorship and comfort, asking how we prepare students to handle complex ideas with both critical thinking and compassion. We'll also renew our focus on academic excellence, ensuring that every student has the tools to thrive intellectually in a rapid changing world.
These goals are not isolated. They are part of evolving into a strategic plan. Each year builds upon the last, and at the core of it all is our shared belief that education is not just about information, it's about transformation.
So, as we wrap up this year, let's celebrate the progress we've made, not just in metrics or milestones, but in the deeper connections we fostered. And let's step into the future with purpose, knowing that all the best work is still ahead of us. Thank you.
It's about transformation. Anybody? Okay. We have a policy and legislative committee report. Is everything coming for information today, or did you want to give a summary? Or
We can do a quick summary. Policy and legislation. We discussed several policies, lots related to Title IX. Oh, did I? Lots related to Title IX changes, and then a couple items that are coming before you as well. Did you have something to add, Dr. Kincaid?
I will discuss it when it comes for information.
Got it.
But you're
Okay.
right.
The
Several
only
policies.
the only issue where we went away from policy was based on finance's recommendation, or we considered going away from policy, which was raising the capitalization threshold to $10,000. The recommendation by Mr. Obafemi is to keep it at or above $5,000.
okay. Anybody with any questions? No? We'll move to board member comments.
Okay, I'll start.
Go ahead.
I only have one comment at at the close of the year here. Last week we were at Murphy Junior High talking to some teachers, and there's one comment that has kind of rung true for the past 4 years from certain schools, and it's not anything that's earth-shattering, but I think it's something that we need to be a little bit more consciously proactive about in the future. One of the things that was brought up was that sometimes they felt that they were on an island. I've heard this from other schools, especially ones that are kind of on the outer perimeters of our district, because our district is very large. And really what it says to me, at least, is that we need to be more conscious about getting maybe some consistency across the board, so that all of our schools are not necessarily individual silos, but we truly are a community unit school district. So just something to keep in mind. And that's my only comment.
Anybody else?
I have a quick comment.
Sure.
This weekend on Sunday, the Special Olympics Wildcats teams are going to do regional soccer tournament. And if they win their 2 games, then they would go on to the state tournament in Bloomington in June. So go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.
Mary Jo and I attended the dual language graduation. Yeah. So great speakers. BPAC does a great job with that. Recognizing those students. I also want to let the board know that Heather and I truly appreciate how this board has communicated so far. We see your commitment to the current board agreements, and we will look at them again during the upcoming board retreat. So that's coming in June. But I really appreciate it. Anybody else have? I didn't think so that's why I went. So now we're moving to the to approve the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I make a motion to approve all items under consent, including 9.1 minutes from the Board of Education meeting on April 28th, 2025, open and closed session, and minutes from the Board of Education meeting on May 5th, 2025, open session. 9.2 to acknowledge the FOIA requests received by the district. 9.3 to approve the field trips for overnight and or more than 200 miles, and to approve 9.4 the joint stipend committee recommendations.
Does anybody have any questions on the consent agenda?
All of our seconders have moved on.
Oh, no,
Like you. And, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We have to prompt for the seconds, right? But anybody have any questions on the consent agenda? No? Okay.
Miss C?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Dr. Polak?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Miss Wenmouth?
Aye.
Miss Robinson?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Good evening, board. We are bringing to you for information this evening. We have a presentation by Ms. Mosley. Is that correct? Transportation Department update. So, want to thank you. Yeah, you want to, please. Who's got the clicker? Oh, it's up there. Okay, there we go.
Good evening, board. Welcome to board members. Tonight, we're going to present some information update about transportation. I came a couple weeks ago and we talked a little bit about our hazardous study. And so this is going to give you a little bit more information to the details that we dug into and where we're projected to go and recommendations that we'll need for hazardous studies.
You can bring the mic just a little closer. There you go. You're doing great, but it just we were advised tonight on the volume level. So
on that one in particular, yeah.
Yes.
Do I have the clicker?
Yep.
Some of the topics we're going to talk about is the eligibility for riders, our alternative drop-off form, hazardous crossing findings, and then how we're going to communicate out to the community. Just briefly, eligibility for riders. Our riders are eligible for service if they live more than 1.5 miles, unless it is a hazardous area that is deemed by the state of Illinois as a hazardous crossing. Our alternative drop-off pickup form, that is a form that we have for students that are eligible for transportation, excuse me, where a route is created within their home boundary. Excuse me. That form is created so that they could be transported. Thank you, sir. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
That form is created for families that live within their school boundaries that are dropped off and pick up at other locations. A lot of times those are daycares. But what we did different this year is we are providing kids connection in every elementary school within Oswego 308. Hazardous crossing, I'm just going to briefly go over this. There's a guideline per the Illinois Department of Transportation that we follow. That guideline gives points to hazardous intersections. Some of those crossings is identified as the width of the walkway, traffic patterns, things of that nature. That give points to those intersections. If it's 12 points or more, by the state of Illinois, is deemed hazardous for that intersection. So we did a lot of dive into the information. We worked with a third-party engineering company that went out and did that research. They gave us that data back. There's a lot of people within the district that we partnered with, some of our principals, executive directors of school, deputy superintendent, our CFO. A lot of us teamed up together to do this work to see how that was going to impact our families in our district. Got those studies. We reviewed them. Went out to some of the areas ourselves to see what the engineers were coming up with. And so one of the things that I will point out, what the board has the opportunity to do is add a judgment point to any area that was not considered hazardous. So we can add up to 2 points to make it hazardous if we feel that that is a hazardous crossing. One of the areas, there's only one area that we're asking the board to recommend as a hazardous crossing, and that is on Harvey and Wolf Crossing, the east side of that turnabout. The state does not have criteria for a turnabout. And so what they looked at was the crossing, there's an island there on that turnabout. And then all of the lighting, it was deemed as 11 points, which is not hazardous. But we're asking that the board recommend a 1-point judgment that make that hazardous. Because if we added a crossing guard for safety in a turnabout, you cannot stop the traffic. And so typically that's what our crossing guards do. They stop traffic. If we stop traffic, there will be more accidents. And some of the reasons why we would like that judgment point is because of the unique accidents that happen in that area and a lot of students, drivers. And so Oswego East, the turnabout on the east end, we're asking for 1 judgment point. You'll see all the other schools listed that we went through, the information there. And on our slides, you'll see a lot of information on those points. I'm not going to take up a lot of time and go through that, but you guys should have those slides. Here is the chart from the engineering company. You'll see that third column, it says the east leg of the roundabout, they have 11 points. And that's, again, what we're referring to add a 1-point judgment there as a district. Again, these are some of the schools, and through this slide, you'll see some of the schools where we have intersections. One thing I will go back a little bit and just point out is that the reason why we're doing this study is because we have to identify our hazardous crossings with the state of Illinois. So when you make your recommendations and approve these intersections that we're giving you tonight, I have to submit a form to the state of Illinois, and that would classify our intersections as hazardous with the state. Part of that is for us to get reimbursement claims back from the state of Illinois on our transportation reimbursement claim, which we haven't done in a while. So we want to get that money back. Fox Chase, Thompson, Trauber. There's a few intersections that we identified was hazardous, as well as the engineer studies. Wolf Crossing, Benarsic, those were some areas. Team and I went back a lot of times and talked about these areas and how we could make it non-hazardous. But at this point, we're going to continue to say that those areas were hazardous and recommend those for the state, as well as Boulder Hill. And then again, there's several schools throughout this slide that you'll see the intersections that we identified was hazardous. What's next? Our June 9th is our next board meeting. I'm hoping that we have action from the board that is approved our recommendations. And then on June 10th, I plan to submit that to the state of Illinois for hazardous areas. June 24th, we plan to communicate that to our families. And then in July, we plan to have 2 town hall meetings with our families as well as with our engineers. They will be with us in those town halls because they have that detailed information to provide to families and answer those questions that maybe I can't answer. And then we plan to have all of this information out to our families by August 1st. There's a lot of data that we plan to distribute to our community. One of the things I will point out here is on our transportation webpage, we will have frequently asked questions, as well as our safe walk routes that we are working with the village to create for all of our buildings. And I think that's it for me.
Okay. Teresa or Raphael or Dr. Kincaid, I know you've been working very closely. Anything you'd like to add before we open up for questions? No? All right, thank you, Ms. Mosley. Questions from the board?
Is it too early? It's probably too early in the game to determine if this will be if this will be a big relief to our transportation, or if it will. There's so many hazardous crossing routes; it almost seems like it's going to be worse. Will we be able to free up some bus time?
This year, buses? I would say no.
Not this year.
I mean, 25, 26, I would say no.
Okay.
Because again, we're identifying them as hazardous now with the state, which means the students that we transport that are that's under 1.5 miles, and in those hazardous areas, we will get funding back in the reimbursement claim. That will be a cost savings, but that's not a lot, but it won't free up our buses.
But sorry, want to add one thing, but it's me over here. Teresa, sorry, voice from heaven. No, but I do think one point to clarify is by following the policies for alternate drop and pickup, though, there would be greater efficiencies because right now with Kids Connection not being in every building, there is a lot of shuttling going on and there will be no need for that anymore. Correct. So that time would be saved for sure.
And then the after school care, not that's Kids Connection, that they have to be in their own.
Right. So following the rules
that,
right. There's greater efficiencies, which I think save time and money, not to the extent where if we were to eliminate 10 or 15 buses, but I'd want to say that there's definitely some efficiencies that are going to be realized.
And then I correct me if I'm wrong, these are probably considered hazardous already, most of these.
Yes, we consider them hazardous now. We just have to get them.
So there's no increase.
There's no increase,
right?
Except for the roundabout, which is what we're recommending.
So
1 second.
So it sounds like we've thought through how we will support our families who may be losing bus services. Kids Connection being one of them, which I think is awesome. But are there any other supports we'll have in place, such as hiring additional crossing guards, identifying walking routes? Are there any other plans to look into that a bit further?
Yes, but we already have those crossing guards in place in the areas that we're identifying as hazardous. We just need to the board to approve them so that we can get them claimed with the state, but there won't be any additional areas that we're asking for hazardous. Currently, we treat those areas or intersections as hazardous.
We're just making it official. So they are already currently hazardous
Yeah.
with
Transportation.
transportation and with crossing guards wherever there may have been. They just had never been officially approved by the board to ensure that the board then we can submit it to the state for reimbursement.
Correct.
So we're now we're now ensuring that we can now go officially to the state and get those reimbursements.
Makes sense. Okay.
And just to
Good
be-
question.
And just to be clear, the transportation infrastructure operation in the district, it's been financially challenging. It hasn't paid for itself for a long time. It's actually at a deficit. So a consistent, persistent deficit. So by doing this, this is some of the operational efficiencies that we're looking at to right size it. And one of them, the prior board approved, which is the acquisition of buses. Keeping buses longer, that'll be one. Negotiating better lease price for those buses that we acquire. This is another step in the way. We've had some of these routes considered hazardous, but there's a process that we have to go through in order for the state to be able to reimburse us for those. We designate them as hazardous route. I mean, we did that, but it didn't help us financially. So in order for us to be able to maximize the amount of money that we'll get from the state, the board has to approve it, then it has to go to IDOT, and then IDOT has to send it to ISB. So that will help us too with some additional revenue. So we are taking steps to try to right size the operational inefficiencies that we've been battling in the district for a while.
Dr. Zwillinger?
So is it accurate to say that we have no official hazardous intersections with the state? So we haven't been getting any reimbursement for those?
We haven't followed the process that we're supposed to follow.
To
in
get
order
the
for it-
reimbursement.
Yes.
Dr. Zwemke?
Mosley, could we use more bus drivers?
Absolutely.
Could we use more bus monitors?
Absolutely.
Could we use more crossing guards?
Yes, we can.
Okay, always a great opportunity when we're talking to transportation for an opportunity for recruitment to work with Ms. Mosley. Ms. Mosley, how would they get in touch with you?
I can be reached at lmosley@308.org or our transportation number 630-636-2999.
Excellent opportunity to work in transportation. Thank you.
Nice
Thank you.
Nice plug.
Across the board, right? Yeah. Does anybody else have any other?
Okay.
You know, I had a communications, just call out, you know, the families that are currently having their kids bused outside of their home school. I don't know, we want to make sure that they're ready. So in particular, I would imagine that they get daycare lined up. So I don't know. I'm assuming you could probably pull those names, right?
Yeah, it's a priority. We are aware of who they are, and we are definitely prioritizing. So it's not a last minute thing.
Yeah,
right. So that is definitely
that's
not.
tough for a parent. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
We do have some daycares that's on our route daily in those areas.
Oh.
And so that shouldn't be a huge impact.
Okay. Want to thank you and your team, and also to the leadership who've worked together with you. So thank you again, Ms. Mosley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, I want to invite Dr. Kincaid, presentation on our consolidated district plan, 10.2.
Alrighty, so our consolidated district plan is really the kickoff to all of our federal grants. So the purpose of our consolidated district plan is really to coordinate between multiple grants that we're going to talk about tonight. All of the grants that we will refer to have separate applications, plans. So each of the individual federal grants go much more in depth than just the consolidated district plan. This is really just the integration of our federal grants. So our team that came together to start to discuss really spans the leadership of the grants. So members of Learning Innovation and Equity and Engagement and the schools team came and talked about Title I, Title II, Title IV. Members of our multilingual team came and discussed Title III. Members of our special ed department came and discussed IDA. Members of our early childhood team for our pre-K IDA, and then members of our student services team regarding our foster care and MKV coordination. Of course, also from our finance team, members of our grants. So the whole purpose of this is really to focus on coordination. So not only across the grants, but within our professional learning, our supports to students, and our services to families and our students. So what we're required to do is a needs assessment of our staff. Every year we put out a professional learning survey to really seek information related to what does our staff want to learn for the following year. And that's what will help to shape our planning throughout the 25-26 school year. In addition to that, we look at data that we've collected throughout the year, from assessment data to, in this case, we had thousands of pieces of data for our strategic plan, both the surveys, our in-person, and our town halls. And then data that's collected both at the state level and the local level from our buildings and our district. In addition to this, as you saw in the Consolidated District Plan, we have to do intentional combination or alignment of both our district goals and our state initiatives. We have 3 state initiatives, being student learning, learning conditions, and elevating educators, of which then in each of the sections related to our federal grants, we not only had to align to those 3 state initiatives, but also to our strategic plan, which we aligned it to our 5 priority areas of future ready, systems of support, academics, wellness, and systems management. So throughout this process, not only did we want to coordinate to our goals and objectives, but then also our services. So we met with our non-public. We do have 2 non-public schools that will participate this year from outside of our attendance boundaries, basically serving some of our resident students, and then our foster care transportation. So these are the grants that are included and referenced throughout the Consolidated District Plan. So the federal grants that we are awarded are Title I School Improvement, which both of those 2 we will talk about in 10.3 and 10.4. Title II, Title III, both are language instruction and additional funding for our immigrant students. Title IV, and then IDA, of which we receive funding both targeted to preschool and our K-12 learners. So this is the amounts that we have received across the years. Some of the changes that you'll see depends on the different school improvement cycles. So in 21-22, we were in 22-23, we were in 1 school improvement cycle. The district came out of that, actually the whole state, and we entered another school improvement cycle, of which we will talk about shortly. So that's the change that you see, especially from school year 23 to school year 24. In addition, we have seen changes in Title III due to the funding per student allocation from the state has decreased from $100 per student to $90 per student. In addition, our overall number of EL students has increased. So we do see some changes in funding due to that. We have currently not received our funding allocations for the 26 school year. So once those do arrive, hopefully by the end of this month, we will start the process led through our schools or diverse learners department to work with our buildings and create the grants. So any questions before we move on to 10.3?
Well,
No.
Okay.
She answered my question.
Okay.
Oh.
In terms of alignment with the strategic plan, and you called it out earlier.
Great.
Alrighty.
Thank
so-
you, Dr. Kincaid. Moving on to
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Moving on to 10.3. With us tonight, we have 4 of our wonderful principals. Pete Meismer from Boulder Hill. He is here related to our Title I Schoolwide and Title I SIP. Phil Murray from Long Beach, also related to Title I Schoolwide and Title I SIP. Jeff Rinaldi from Fox Chase for Title I SIP, and Mike Mitchinson from Old Post for Title I SIP.
thank you for sticking through, guys.
Yes. So with our school-wide plans, in order to even qualify to bring our board a school-wide plan, we have to demonstrate a free and reduced rate over 40%. All 3 of these schools, Boulder Hill, Long Beach, and Plank, had previously demonstrated that. As you see in the plans that you have for tonight, Plank, as of our data pool on 5/1, has fallen slightly below that. So we will be, we did consult with the state, and we will be applying for the waiver to continue the utilization of school-wide plans. The reason why is of all of our 8 Title I schools, 5 of them do not meet that 40% threshold. So they have to run what is called a targeted Title I program. So they can only provide services with Title I funds that are targeted to our at-risk student population. So free and reduced, EL, special ed. Title I funds are considered supplemental, so we can't use those funds to supplant what we're currently funding locally. So in our school-wide plans, what it does is it gives us a flexibility to use these funds for any student in these schools. So both Boulder Hill, Long Beach, and Plank have taken the opportunity to pull together a team to write their school-wide plan. In addition to the plan, there will also be a deeper dive into the budget activities once we get our allocations to then support the plan goals and objectives. In terms of why we want to move to school-wide for all these 3. 1, it requires board approval on the plan. That's why we're bringing the plans forward, and it really is focused on that flexibility. As you can see through the plan, it really is focused on academics, behavior, social, emotional, and parent involvement. Due to the total amount of funding that we get for Title I, we are required to spend at least 1% of our total allocation for parent and family involvement. So all 3 of our school-wide Title I programs have very targeted parent activities throughout the year that they bring parents and families in to do things like literacy nights, STEAM nights, things like that, really to engage our parents with their students in academics. So with that, any questions on our 3 Title I school-wide plans?
I don't have any questions on the plans, but I'm just wondering, are there, for future reference, are there other schools that are close to this threshold?
So Thompson is very close. So what we are planning to do is consult again just to see, because they were actually 1/10 different from Plank in terms of low income. While they haven't demonstrated the over 40%, what we're going to do next step is consult and say, well, if we can get Plank approved, even though it's close but not over, can we put in another waiver? So based on that, I'm hopeful that we would get approved, and then we would then need to bring forward the Thompson plan to then be able to spend their Title I funds across the school. So that's our next steps once we submit the waiver for Plank.
Thank you.
Yeah, I notice chronic absenteeism, and I think that there's a direct correlation with chronic absenteeism relative to student proficiency, academic proficiencies. So I was wondering in what details or how do you plan to address chronic absenteeism? As I know it's mentioned in the plan, but I didn't know if you all were thinking about specific strategies that you will eventually input.
Yep. So, especially in both Plank and Boulder Hill, they have specific strategies related to chronic absenteeism. You'll actually see when we get to the Title I SIP, both Fox Chase and Boulder Hill have written specific attendance goals within their Title I SIP plans. So some of the things that they're looking at is stronger coordination with their teachers, with their families. Some of the things that they're looking at is not only increased information because of the differential between like an excused absence, what is excused, as opposed to an unexcused. Sometimes we see families traveling for vacation or different reasons. They've also planned some activities in terms of opportunities for parents to come in. Boulder Hills also talked about increasing their home visits just to have a stronger connection with parents. So really it's a cross coordination of extra supports within their title funding, partnering stronger with their teachers, their families, both in the school and out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Or student board members? Anybody else questions? No?
All right. So
Thank you, Dr. Okay.
Yep. Moving on to
10.4.
10.4. In 10.4, what you have is 4 of our Title I school-wide plans. So Fox Chase and Old Post are entering year 1 of implementation. They are currently this year in their planning phase. So as part of their plan, they had to create their Title I SIP plan. They entered the the Title I SIP cycle based on their SY23 data. All 4 of our schools are in a school improvement cycle due to their subgroup of children with disabilities. Boulder Hill and Long Beach are entering year 2 of their school improvement cycle. So they entered the cycle based on their data from school year 22. And actually we celebrated earlier this year. Boulder Hill, while in school year 22, was targeted. They did, based on their school year 23, move to commendable. But since they were already in the cycle, they get the benefit of the funding throughout the entire 4-year cycle. So the school improvement cycle is year 1 based on planning. That's part of the change in the funding also. Year 1 for planning is not funded as strongly as year 1, 2, and 3 of implementation, where that's where we see our direct supports for students. So as part of their goals, all 4 schools have goals based on academics. So for reading and math, as I mentioned before, Fox Chase and Boulder Hill, based on their data, wanted to do some intentional focus on attendance. So their 3rd goal is related to attendance. And Long Beach and Old Post, their 3rd goal is related to effective systems and teams. So really trying to strengthen that coordination with parents and families and students, and teachers, about children with disabilities. So our overall, the reason why we enter a school improvement cycle is based on our summative designation. So we will get updated summative designations this fall, which is based on academics, chronic absenteeism, and academics both in terms of performance and growth. So there's a few other things that are part of that, but those are the main things, but we'll dig into further details in the fall when our new data gets released. So throughout the plans, you'll see a focus on academics, social emotional, behavior, and really concentrated on strategies, systems, supports, and then strengthening those relationships with parents. So, any questions about our Title I SIP?
Principals, you are here. Do you want to add anything? I know that you've spent a lot of hours on these factors and with your team. So just building on what Dr. Kincaid shared, please feel free to come up and want to add.
Concur.
And I'm Phil Murray, principal at Long Beach. I would say probably the biggest thing, the collaboration amongst our schools as well, and the work that we've done with Dr. Kincaid, having been in it for a few years. And as she mentioned, like our real focus is on those teams and the parents and the community and the relationships. If we can build those and building those bridges to our students too on there. But you're right, Dr. Calgatti, a lot of time, a lot of input from parents. We had a stakeholders advisory group this year for the first time. And that was really important to get input from parents. Half of our group was made up of parents from children with disabilities. So to actually hear from them was very helpful as well. And they've given us some good ideas for our planning for heading into next year as well. So not to speak for the other schools, but that's a little bit about what we're doing. And the support that we've gotten from both Heathers has been great. So I thank you personally for that, because it is a lot of work on there. So thanks for acknowledging that.
Thank you. Okay.
Anybody?
I just have one more thing to say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Please.
So one, I think it's great that you all are partnering. I don't believe that this work should be done in silos. So I think it's an excellent idea that you are partnering with multiple stakeholders, specifically parents, as called out earlier today. I was just wondering if you all, and you don't even have to answer this now, but just food for thought, if you are considering work recovery for these plans and how you will embed work recovery into these plans, specifically since you have a population of students who are struggling with attendance.
Thank you. Board, thank you for your feedback and your reflections. Now, Dr. Kincaid, I think we're going to the next one.
All right.
Busy.
Okay, so moving on to 10.5. So as was mentioned in our board committee report, several times a year we receive from Press Plus a update. This month was one of those updates. Typically, the policies that we bring for review kind of fall in one of four categories. One, that we're required to change policy. Two, that press is recommending that we change policy. The third is we internally decide to review our policy. And then last, some required kind of footnotes and legal review. So tonight, in all of the policies that you see for your first read are focused either on the 2024 Title IX revision or reversion to the 2020 Title IX regulations. Another significant impact was Public Act 102466, where they added additional requirements and supports for students due to pregnancy, parenting, or concerns arising from domestic or sexual violence. And then the third was changes to our staff development requirements. So all of those policies impacted by those three things, we are required to make the change. The next set is really based on recommendation. The first one mentioned, 480, was the capitalization threshold. Press is recommending an increase from 5,000 to 10,000 with consultation with our finance department. The recommendation is to leave the threshold at 5,000. The reasoning is really internal controls within the department in the district. So that gives us a better kind of overall inventory and review of capitalized versus non-capitalized equipment. At one point, our finance department was considering lowering the threshold from 5,000 to 2,500. So their recommendation at this point is to remain at 5,000. The other policy recommendation is within 6235. Press is recommending some framework around AI, essentially asking the schools then to, through district coordination, to develop an AI plan that requires not only a plan, but professional learning and review. We would be recommending essentially that framework to be added to board policy. Then once approved, we would be working throughout the district on what that plan would be. So those are the two policies with recommendations we would like to support to move forward. The policy that fits internal review is policy 130, which is our school district philosophy. The current policy is tied to Envision 308. So now with our strategic plan being approved by the board, what we have done is realign the school district policy to our 5 priority areas. This is directly from our strategic plan, but we wanted to recommend the replacement of the connection to Envision 308 to our to our strategic plan. The remainder of the policies really fall into that require footnotes and legal review. But is there any questions about our
I don't have any questions, but I just, because we reviewed these at the Policy and Legislative Committee. But just a note about the AI, we had a little bit of discussion about it at our committee, and, you know, developing that framework. Obviously, through press, a lot of districts are going to be doing this all at the same time. So it's a great time for collaboration and also just to keep an eye out for what other people are thinking and doing, because it's already here. And, everyone has, with, lighter hand or more hands make lighter work. So I think that would be beneficial to be connecting with other districts on that.
Dr. Paul and her team have already been working with the high schools, and our instructional technology coaches have been doing some deep dives into the world of AI over the last year or so. So
AI will not replace our teachers, so if there's any rumors out there, just so you know.
You said will not.
Will not. Will not, for the record, Eric.
Can we get AI to somehow drive buses?
That would be great.
Oh,
Autonomous buses. Oh, no. Let's start with electric buses first.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Just
a good
kidding.
idea.
No, okay.
I believe they went out of business.
okay.
Anything else, Doctor?
Any questions? Anybody? The only thing I had was I saw that the uptakes policy 130 were not discussed. So basically, the committee members and comfortable with the replacement of what it used to be.
Yeah, if anything, it's more conservative.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
No, I think he's talking. I'm sorry, you're referring to the one with the philosophy statement.
Yes.
Right, not the
Oh,
five.
sorry.
Not the
Oh
5,000.
yeah,
numbers.
5,000 versus 10,000. Obviously, yeah.
That was,
That's aligned with what I would want. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would say I feel comfortable with it. It just aligns well with it didn't make sense to have the other version in there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kate. We're moving on to action items then. Okay. Action item 11.1, approval of bills for payment. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to authorize the payment of bills in the amount of $5,639,480.85 as presented.
Second.
Mr. Cerrone,
Aye.
Miss Robinson,
Aye.
Dr. Martin,
Aye.
Miss C,
Aye.
Dr. Murillo,
Aye.
Miss Wenmuth,
Aye.
Dr. Polak.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay. Moving on to 11.2, approval of girls flag football. Can I have a motion, please?
I feel like there should be a drum roll. I make a motion to approve girls flag football as a new IHSA sport.
Second.
And I have a question.
Yeah,
And I
was
have
gonna
a
say,
comment. Yeah. For the vote.
You might be needed. We'll see.
Mr. Arton, come on up. Yes, you are officially need. You want us to ask you?
My question is, there were two plans presented. Do we need to approve the JV varsity or as opposed to the other plan? Or is that something that you just go do if and when this gets approved?
Yes.
We
Well,
can hear you, but they can't.
Yeah, we definitely want you to be heard.
The final recommendation, which you would, if you were to approve tonight, would be for a varsity and JV level
Okay.
sports.
I just want to confirm that.
To clarify, yes.
Can I ask, does
That's what's in the recommendations.
okay.
Yeah. I just want, my comments are, I just have comments, I don't have questions. So I'm so happy with this proposal. It feels like we're going to have opportunities for more students, which is, I think, was brought to the surface in the conversations we had last month. And I think it's just a good testament to what, a community board does and, partnering with the district to figure out what the best options are. And so I see our coaches in the audience as well. So thank you for being here and for helping out with everything. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, there have been a lot of champions along the way. So I mean, this is obviously pending your approval, but it's been a very good process. And again, there's people sitting in the stands here who have been very helpful along the way, and there's people who aren't sitting here who have been very helpful along the way.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just keep an eye on demand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
We're fully acknowledging the fact that we will continue to monitor these numbers. This is something that we think is going to grow even beyond this. But right now, I think this is the most appropriate response we can have, and it matches what our district partners or our SBC partners are doing as well, conference partners.
Any other questions or?
Were stakeholders
So you
excited
feel
about
good?
this recommendation?
All right.
I would say yes. It really hasn't gone out too much about the official recommendation to kind of grow from the initial.
Okay.
I would think that everyone is excited for this.
Okay.
I think everyone is going to be very happy with the product. What's interesting is, we were in meetings last week as a conference, and the Illinois State athletic directors have a conference last week too. The IHSA is still waiting on some final details from kind of the higher authority as the NFHS and the rules and things too. There are some constant changes happening with this based off, and it's small changes, but things we have to keep an eye on. Is right now there's currently 2 halves and then a short half time. They're thinking about going to quarters to make it mirror more like the boys football game. It will lengthen it a bit, but like this is such a fast growing sport in a lot of different ways. You will see small changes to better the product overall and better the experience for student athletes too. So I think there's gonna be a lot of people pleased.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
I want to take a moment and just thank you for your leadership, Mr. Arnson. Not everyone knows that, when we bring proposals, sometimes there's a lot going on behind the scenes when we think about the economics and how we balance the need versus the demand versus how it fits into everything else in the community. And as the executive athletic director for the whole district, you've had to weigh all those. And so I think you did so well last time in presentation. I know Tony's not here this evening, but please extend to him our appreciation for both of your leadership in this work. So we'll see how the vote goes. But with that, I will say thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Miss Wenmouth?
Aye.
Miss C?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Dr. Polak?
Aye.
Miss Robinson?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Now it's the exciting stuff. All right, reroute. 11.3. Approval of Oswego East High School regroute project. That's exciting. Can I have a motion, please?
Sure. I make a motion to award the Oswego East High School regroute project to Bourbon Tile and Marble, Inc. in the amount of $67,035.
I second.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Dr. Polak?
Aye.
Ms. Wenmouth?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Ms. C?
Aye.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Ms. Robinson?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
That was exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good luck, Mr. Queen. Let's do this.
Yeah.
You got regrounded. The clock starts now. I don't want another track scenario.
Oh, geez. I don't even want to talk about
Sorry, bad news bears there. Huh? I apologize. Too soon, too soon, too soon. All right, keep going.
We're going to move on to 11-4. All right. The approval of personnel report. Can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the personnel report as discussed and presented.
Second.
Dr. Murillo?
Aye.
Ms. Robinson?
Aye.
Dr. Polak?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Ms. C?
Aye.
Ms. Wenmouth?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, you can. I make a motion to adjourn.